Level 1. The receipt that does not make sense. The number on the receipt does not make sense. You stand at the register and you look at it twice, not because you are confused, but because some small part of your brain refuses to accept it as real. The bread cost what it costs. The milk cost what it costs. You put your card in, you enter your number, and you walk out with 2 bags of groceries that weigh almost nothing, that will last maybe 4 days, that cost you what a full week of groceries used to cost 18 months ago. And you do not say anything about it. You get in the car, you drive home, you unload the bags into a kitchen that already feels slightly smaller than it used to be, and you tell yourself the same thing you told yourself last time and the time before that, which is that things will probably even out, that prices tend to correct themselves, that this is temporary, that someone somewhere is handling this. But somewhere in the back of your chest, below the rational explanations and above the quiet dread, something already knows that it is not temporary. Something already knows what is coming. Level 2. The slow compression begins. It begins the way everything real begins, which is slowly and quietly, and in ways that are almost too small to name. You are living your life the way you always have. You go to work, you come home, you pay your rent or your mortgage on the first of the month, and the number feels heavy but manageable, the way a weight feels manageable when you have been carrying it long enough to forget that it is there. You buy food, you fill your tank, you pay your phone bill and your electric bill and the streaming subscriptions you mean to cancel but never do, and at the end of the month there is usually a little left over. Not much, but enough. Enough to feel like you are staying afloat. Enough to tell yourself you are doing okay. The inflation rate climbs past 4% and the news covers it for a few days and then moves on to something else. You notice that your grocery bill is a little higher. You switch to the store brand for a few things. You stop buying the coffee you actually like and start buying the one that is cheaper. These feel like small adjustments, practical choices, the kind of thing a reasonable adult does when circumstances require a little belt tightening. You do not think of them as losses, you think of them as being smart. The inflation rate climbs past 7%, you are still making the same salary you were making before, because salaries do not move the way prices move. Prices move fast, in the night, without asking. Salaries require negotiation, patience, a performance review scheduled 6 months out, a conversation with a manager who is also watching the budget, a company that is also watching the economy, an economy that is currently doing something that nobody in your lifetime has seen it do before. Your paycheck arrives on the same schedule it always has. The number on it is the same number it was last year, but the number on your grocery receipt is different. The number on your electric bill is different. The number at the gas pump is different. And the distance between what comes in and what goes out is closing, slowly, the way a door closes when there is a draft in the room, so gradually that you do not notice until it is almost shut. You start doing math in your head more often. While you are waiting in line, while you are driving, while you are lying in bed at 3 in the morning, running the numbers again, even though you already know the numbers, even though the numbers have not changed since the last time you ran them. You add up the fixed costs, then the variable costs, then you subtract everything from the paycheck, and what is left is smaller than you thought it would be, smaller than you can quite explain, and you lie there in the dark trying to figure out where the money is going, because you have not changed your habits, you have not made any new purchases, you have not done anything differently, and yet every month there is less. That is the thing about inflation that nobody explains to you when you are young. It does not take your money directly, it just slowly makes your money mean less. Level 3. The Tuesday morning decision. It is a Tuesday morning, not a dramatic one, not a morning that feels different from any other Tuesday morning, and you are sitting at your kitchen table drinking coffee and looking at a piece of paper where you have written down all of your monthly expenses next to all of your monthly income, and the exercise was supposed to make you feel more in control, but instead it has produced a very clear and very cold picture of a life that is being slowly compressed from all sides. You sit with it for a while. You do not make a dramatic decision. There is no moment of revelation, no sudden clarity, no emotional breakthrough. You just look at the paper and you think, quietly, that something has to change. not because you want it to change, not because you are inspired, but because the paper in front of you is showing you a future that you cannot afford to arrive at. And so you make a small decision, an almost invisible decision, a decision that takes about 10 minutes and produces no immediate visible result. You open an account and you put $100 into it every month, automatically, before you can think about it, before you can redirect it somewhere else, before the month can spend it on your behalf without your permission. The account holds something that is not cash. It holds something that tends to rise with the prices around it, rather than staying still while those prices climb. It is not a large amount. It is not a dramatic gesture. It will not save you next month or the month after that, but it is the first time in your financial life that your money is moving in the same direction as the world around it, rather than sitting still while the world moves without it. You go to work, you come home, nothing looks different yet. Level 4, 2 years in, the divergence. 2 years pass. The inflation rate has done something that economic models said was unlikely. It has not corrected. It has not stabilized. It has continued climbing, fed by supply chains that never fully recovered, by energy costs that governments cannot control, by a global system of debt that has become so large that the only tool left to manage it is the same tool that makes everything more expensive. The economists argue on television. The politicians blame each other. The central banks raise interest rates and then raise them again. And the thing that raising interest rates does is make borrowing more expensive, which means the mortgage you are paying on a house you want to buy is now at a rate that makes the monthly payment feel like a different number entirely than it felt 2 years ago. A number that puts the idea of buying a house not at the edge of possibility, but somewhere past it, somewhere you cannot quite see from where you are standing. Rents keep climbing. You are now paying 38% of your take-home income in rent alone. The general rule, the one that financial advisors mention when discussing healthy budgets, is 30%. You are past it. You have been past it for a while, and moving somewhere cheaper would require a deposit you do not have, and a move you cannot afford, and a commute that would cost you the time you do not have to spend. And so you stay, and you pay, and the margin gets thinner. Your credit card balance has grown, not from irresponsible spending, from a car repair, then a medical copay that was higher than expected, then a month when the electric bill doubled because of the heat, then another month when something else broke, and each time you told yourself you would pay it down next month, and each next month something else was waiting. The balance is now $4,000, sitting there collecting interest at 22% per year, and the minimum payment keeps your balance almost exactly where it is, not falling, not rising dramatically, just sitting there, stable and permanent and expensive, costing you roughly $74 a month in interest alone, money that disappears into the bank's arithmetic and produces nothing for you at all. But the automatic transfer is still running. Every month, $100 moves into the account you opened on that Tuesday morning. You have not touched it. You have almost forgotten it, not entirely, but the way you forget something that runs quietly in the background, something you trust enough to leave alone. After 26 months, it has accumulated $2,600 in contributions, and because of the nature of what it holds, because of the way that asset tends to move with the economy rather than against it, the account does not say $2,600, it says something higher. Not dramatically higher, not the kind of number that changes your life, but higher. And that smallness is important to understand, because the alternative, the savings account version of that same money, would say something lower than $2,600, because the inflation that has been climbing for 26 months would have consumed the interest and then kept going. The two accounts are moving in different directions. One is being eroded, one is holding. That divergence is quiet now. In 10 years, it will not be quiet at all. Level 5, the second wave, faster this time. But here is what you do not know yet. Here is what the next decade is going to show you. The countries that responded to the first wave of global hyperinflation by printing more money to fund economic recovery are now entering the second phase, the phase that economic historians have documented in every prior hyperinflationary episode throughout the last 2 centuries. The phase where the first correction creates the conditions for a second surge, where the temporary stability becomes the illusion before the next escalation. The rate, which felt moderate, which felt like a new normal, is about to move again, not because of a sudden crisis, because of accumulated decisions, because of arithmetic that has been building for decades below the surface of the economy, patient and invisible, waiting for the conditions that allow it to finally appear. You are 41 when prices begin climbing again, and this time they climb faster. Level 6, the other ending, your neighbor at 61. Your neighbor is 61. She worked the same kind of job, made roughly the same kind of money across the same span of years. She was thoughtful and careful, and she saved diligently, and she put her money somewhere safe, somewhere stable, somewhere that never frightened her and never produced dramatic outcomes. She has a retirement account that represents 30 years of disciplined saving, and it holds a number that would have made her younger self feel proud. But she is trying to buy the same things you are trying to buy, in the same economy, with the same prices, and the number in her account, despite being large in the way that numbers look large in isolation, buys significantly less than the number in yours, not because she made dramatic mistakes, not because she was irresponsible, but because the asset she chose to trust with her working life savings was cash and cash equivalents, in a world that systematically, reliably, and without exception reduces the purchasing power of cash and cash equivalents across every decade that passes. She does not understand exactly what happened. She understands only that the retirement she planned for and the retirement she can afford are two different retirements, separated by a gap that cannot be closed at 61, that cannot be worked around, that cannot be negotiated with, because the arithmetic finished a long time ago and she was not watching when it did. You have a conversation with her one afternoon. You do not explain anything. You do not offer advice. You listen. You watch her do the math in real time, the way you did the math at your kitchen table 30 years earlier, arriving at the same cold, clear picture of a gap between what was planned and what is available. And you understand that the difference between where you are sitting and where she is sitting is not intelligence or discipline or luck. It is a single Tuesday morning, a single piece of paper, a single quiet decision that produced no immediate result and no visible change and no moment of confidence or certainty. Just $100 moving automatically into an account you barely thought about for 30 years. Level 7, the only question time ever asks. You are not wealthy in the way that the word wealthy conjures images of ease and insulation from consequence. The world is still expensive. The system is still running. The prices are still moving in the direction they have always moved. You still do math in your head sometimes, out of habit, out of the reflexes that decades of living inside a compressed economy have built into you without your permission. But you are free in a way that you could not have named when you were 31 and sitting at your kitchen table, looking at a piece of paper that showed you a future you could not afford. You are free from the particular terror of a retirement that cannot support itself, from the arithmetic that waits at the end of a life of disciplined saving in the wrong direction, from the quiet, devastating discovery that the money you protected from risk was not protected from the most reliable risk of all. Time passes. It passes whether you are watching it or not. It passes whether your money is moving or standing still. It passes regardless of what the inflation rate is doing, regardless of what the government decides, regardless of what the economists say on television about whether this is temporary or permanent. It passes with the complete indifference of something that has never needed your participation to continue. The only question it ever asks is what you built while it was passing. Not in dramatic moments, not in crisis, in the ordinary Tuesdays, in the automatic transfers, in the account you opened on a quiet morning when nothing felt urgent and no one was watching and the decision felt too small to matter. The future does not arrive as a surprise, it arrives as arithmetic.